Hello, I'm John, and welcome to another Product Spotlight. Today we have a really cool model from ScaleTrains, so let's head over to the workbench and take a look. It's such a privilege to open these nice, hard cardboard boxes. I mentioned recently that as an end scaler, we don't get this kind of fancy stuff, except with ScaleTrains, actually. Anyway, it's a hard cardboard box, as you can see. Comes with the manual here. I like this narrow kind of manual because it'll fit in your pocket. The ones that they made before were these wide things, and they were trifold, so when you opened it up, it was like 3 or 4 feet long. These are, to me, are much easier to handle. And you can see it has all the information you would need, including all your DCC stuff. Very cool. And then the model reveal. Ooh, look at that. So I'm going to get this thing unpacked out of the box and we'll take a close look at it. Something else I noticed as I was unpacking it is that it had this little bag with some extra parts in it. All right, so here's what we're looking at. This is an HO scale ES44AC. This comes from ScaleTrains, and it's from their Rivet Counter series. This happens to be the one that they refer to as the early antenna arrangement. These models come both as DCC ready and with ESU, DCC, and sound installed. The MSRP for the DCC ready version is $249.99, and the MSRP for the sound-equipped version is $374.99. Now, these are MSRPs, so even if you go to ScaleTrains' website and click on the one you're looking for, they're going to give you a little bit better price on it. So keep that in mind when you're checking these things out, and I would strongly recommend going to the ScaleTrains website to see if they have the road name and road number that you're looking for, because they have a pretty big variety of these things that they've produced. The paint and markings on this model are next to perfect. I don't see any fuzzy lines. All these separation lines are crisp and clean. The only gapping I see in the paint are in door panel seams, which, that's to be expected, I think. You'll see that on prototypes as well. It has all kinds of photo-etched grill detail. This is all see-through stuff as well. I'll put a light behind it later when we're looking at the fireman's side. But the grill's also up here, photo-etched, very amazing. The handrail's nice and straight. And I always appreciate the little details that are picked out with different colors of paint down here around the fuel tank. There's also a ton of undersill detail that may be hard to see because it's, in shadow and it's black against black, but I'm seeing it in person and it's pretty amazing. This is one of those things that ScaleTrains is really good about, which is, adding that stuff that you see it if you get low. And something else that they started doing kind of more recently, at least in my experience, is that they discolor, or I should say paint, the wheel faces in sort of this rusty brownish color, which is something that a lot of modelers do to these models after they get them if they didn't come that way. So that's a great extra step that they're taking, and something that I think a lot of us appreciate. Now looking at the detail around the cab, you can see it came with the sunshade installed, and it has all, mirrors and everything you'd expect to see on the side of an engine like this. Looking at the front of the cab, you can see it has very finely rendered windshield wipers, and there are separately applied grabs above the window. The grabs on the top of the hood over here also look really good, separately applied, very thin wire. The sanding hatch detail is pretty amazing. And now looking at the detail around the pilot and the front of the engine, the stepwell is a see-through photo-etched stairs. The little yellow stripes on the edge of the stairs, to me, always makes them pop. Looks really good. I like the fact that they've included the ditch lights, which I'm sure work. We'll look at that later. And all of the additional sort of hose detail all up in here. And it also has the uncoupling lever, which looks really good. Something else I'm really appreciating about this model that I like a lot is the fact that this logo in the front looks so good. I mean, that is really well done. The pad printing that these factories are able to do these days is pretty amazing. And now here's a look at the front on the fireman's side. If you look in there, you can see that there's a fully detailed interior in this model. And here's the broad angle of the fireman's side. Again, looking at all this separately applied and photo etched detail in the grills. There is a lot to look at here, and I'm really liking the detail in the trucks. Kind of hard to see because it's black on black, but there's a lot of stuff going on both trucks, including some chain detail over here. There's a separately applied brake wheel over here. And just like the other side that we were looking at, this side also has a ton of undersill piping and conduits and stuff like that. And something else that ScaleTrains does that I think is really cool is the fan housing back here is see-through on both sides with these photo-etched grills. And there's actually a little fan back in here. You can see it. I'll put the light behind it right here. And you can see as I move the light that the fan housing is modeled inside there. It's really cool. I wanted to show you the detail in this rear fireman's truck. And while we're at it, you can see that behind those grills just above the truck, it has the structure of the locomotive modeled behind there. Now looking at the rear of the model, you can see it has all the same kind of detail that it had on the front, including very thin wire grabs, see-through steps. Something they have on the back that's pretty cool that's not on the front are the spare knuckle holders. It's just a super detailed model. This is what we've come to expect from ScaleTrains. This will be the last three-quarter view that we look at. As usual, I like to show you the detail on the rear of the model on the engineer side as well, because sometimes it's a little different. And what I'm talking about is, you can see, it has the air hose detail right there. So we'll look at the top detail now, and I'm always impressed with the photo-etched, separately applied grills on top of the molded detail that goes underneath. And something that ScaleTrains does exceptionally well are these fans here behind a separately applied photo-etched cover. That looks pretty amazing. And of course, you know, the other stuff you'd expect to see up here. You have your horn casting over here. There's molded hinge detail all over the top. These little warning labels also. If you look at those with your magnifying visor, you can just about make out what they say. It's a danger warning label. And then here's all your roof detail on the cab, including the air conditioner. All right, it's time to run the locomotive. Okay, I'm going to run the model with the sound turned off, and we'll see how loud the mechanism is. Boy, that's really quiet. We're going to look at the lights now, and the first thing to mention is when you turn on the sound, a whole bunch of stuff comes on. Watch this. So we have running lights, one back here along the walkway, one down here by the truck, and this one that I always refer to as a service light up here on the front walkway. We also have the number boards coming on. The headlight comes on with the F0 key, as you'd expect. And the ditch lights come on with F6. The ditch lights are directional as well as the headlight. If you read the manual, it has other lighting controls, like something called DPU mode. I'll leave that to you to read about when you get this thing. It's pretty cool. Something else to mention is that when you blow the horn, you can see that the ditch lights flash alternately. All right, we'll do the same thing looking at the rear of the engine here. We'll turn the sound on and a bunch of lights come on, including the service light here on the back walkway, as well as the truck light under the fireman side of the cab right here. And again, I'll use F0 to turn on the headlight and F6 to turn on the ditch lights. And you'll see in reverse, the ditch lights also alternate going backwards. All the lights are LEDs, and they look very bright in person. As usual, ScaleTrains has really knocked the ball right out of the park with this release of the ES44AC. I have to say that I'm really impressed with the level of detail always in these ScaleTrains models, and the fact that it runs so well, especially at low speeds. This is just one of those models that reminds you that it's good to be a modeler in these times, because the level of detail and the running qualities of the models these days is just really excellent. Something else I want to mention, you may have noticed during the spotlight that I ran the model with the sound turned on and then with the sound turned off. And that's something that I'm going to be doing from now on. Someone had mentioned, or a few viewers along the way have mentioned, that they would like to hear the mechanism. Now, sometimes you won't hear the mechanism because it's quiet enough that it doesn't register on the microphones. So I hope that's a feature of product spotlights that you'll appreciate henceforth. And just want to say thanks for watching and great job, ScaleTrains. See you all next time.